Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Prabhupada 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 Srila Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Gaura Premanandi Hari Hari Bo Hare Krishna. Let us do the Caitanya Charitamrta invocation. Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Om Vijnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Militanjena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So let us, today we're reading from Caitanya Charitamrta, Madhya Lila, chapter 9. This chapter is Lord Chaitanya's travel to the holy places. It's a very long chapter. We've been on this chapter for a long time. Well, we only have class once a week, so that also makes it slow. So we'll be starting from text 266, and we'll finish this section about Lord Chaitanya's discussion with the Tattvavadi followers of Madhvacharya. So just to give a little context, Lord Chaitanya is traveling through South India, and he comes to Udupi, which is a holy place. It's a place where Madhvacharya has his base, and it's a place where he established a very famous deity of Udupi Krishna. And Lord Chaitanya has just taken darshan of that deity and danced in ecstasy in front of that deity. And then he meets one of the followers of Madhvacharya, one of the Tattvavadis. So the Tattvavadis are kind of a sect of followers of Madhvacharya. They're Vaishnavas, but they're a sect which emphasizes doing one's varnashram duties and doing them for the pleasure of Krishna. So that's also there, right? In Bhagavad Gita, that's part of our philosophy, is that we should perform our duties of varnashram for the pleasure of the Lord, not just for fruitive results, for material prosperity, but for pleasing Krishna. Samsiddhir haritoshanam, that's the perfection, and that anything else is shama eva hi kevalam, right? Is simply a waste of time, because any material results are going to be lost, either at the end of this life, if not sooner. So the idea is, whatever we do it for the pleasure of the Lord. So that's basically their philosophy, and that's what they follow. So Lord Chaitanya approached this Tattvavadi, and he was inquiring. He said, I don't know the aim of life very well or how to achieve it. Please tell me what is the best ideal for humanity. And then this is not just any one of the Tattvavadis, but it's one of the acharyas of the Tattvavadis. And he's saying that, when you perform your activities appropriately according to your caste and your ashram of life, and you dedicate that to Krishna, that's the way to attain the highest goal of life. And then, so then Lord Chaitanya, he actually takes objection to that, because he says, okay, that's good, that will gradually elevate you, and if you do it without any attachments to the material results, you basically perform what's called nishkam karma yoga, which means you do your duties, you connect them to Krishna, and you do them without any expectation of material result. You just do them as an offering to the Lord. Then you get free from material bondage. You get free from you don't get any karmic reaction for that work, and you gradually advance towards perfection. You basically attain the 4 purusharthas. So purusharthas means the 4 goals or purposes of human life, which are dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. So dharma means religion, so you're doing your duties, your religious duties, and then from that you get dharma, artha, you get artha, so you get wealth, basically, you get prosperity, and then with that wealth you can get kama, which is material enjoyment, which is what everybody's after in this material world. But then after a while of material enjoyment, then you get fed up with your material enjoyment, and you realize that there's something higher. Because the thing is that the reason that you realize, not that everyone who enjoys themselves materially comes to the point of being disgusted with it and realizing there's something higher, but the magic of the varnashram system is because you're connecting that to Krishna, then Krishna also, he steps in and he helps and he brings about that purification and realization, by which they understand that, the sense gratification, material enjoyment is really not getting me anywhere, It's not satisfying my heart and soul. And really what I need to do is get out of the cycle of birth and death. And then by the mercy of the Lord, they're able to attain mukti. So then they kind of work their way through these 4 purusharthas. And the Tattvavadis believe that that's the goal of life, right? The highest thing is mukti. And also as followers of Madhvacharya was very focused on the worship of Lord Vishnu in a mood of awe and reverence, right? And he made a major contribution to Vaishnavism, a historical contribution, because before the time of Madhvacharya, the Mayavad sect was very strong, and of course, Mayavad philosophy is not a legitimate sampradaya, so it's basically misleading people towards, a bitter end where they don't get liberation, they don't become one with God, because we can't become one with God permanently, and we're not God. And God is, when Krishna comes to this world, he's not a product of Maya. So their whole philosophy is basically bogus. So Madhvacharya's contribution was that he, from a very young age, he was highly enlightened, and he was a liberated soul from birth. And he was inspired and empowered to go out and preach against Mayavad philosophy and establish Dvaitavad. So he would preach against Advaitavad, which is that we're all one. And his philosophy was very much strongly, extremely Dvaita, that no, there's a distinction. We're two, right? Dva means two. So that God is one and we are different from God. We can never become God. We're eternally individual, distinct from God. We're also distinct from matter. Matter is also distinct from God. Everything is distinctions, right? That he emphasized the distinctions between us and the Lord, which is a fact. But then Lord Caitanya came along, and Lord Caitanya introduced Achintya Veda Abheda Tattva. That yes, we're different from the Lord because we're servants of the Lord, but there's also a sense in which we are one with the Lord. We're qualitatively one with the Lord because we're like the Lord, we're eternal. Like the Lord, we're full of knowledge, and like the Lord, we have a blissful spiritual nature. So in quality, we're very much like the Lord. In that sense, we're one with the Lord. But quantitatively, we're different because the Lord is infinite and we are infinitesimal. Lord is unlimitedly big and we are unlimitedly small. We're 1/10,000th the size of a tip of a hair, and our correspondingly, our knowledge, our realization, our ability is also very small compared to the Lord's, intelligence, his omniscience, his omnipotence, and all that. So there is a difference, but there's also a oneness, and there's also a oneness in purpose, right? That our oneness of purpose is that we exist to serve the Lord and to make our mission in life, our purpose in life, aligned with the purpose of the Lord. So when we live according to the will of the Lord, then we become one with the Lord in purpose. We have this oneness of mission. We're united in what we're doing. So Lord Caitanya had a close relationship with Madhvacharya because one time he was very grateful to Madhvacharya for that contribution, because Lord Caitanya also continued in his travels and his preachings. Whoever he met, he would preach quite strongly against Mayavad philosophy, and he converted many Mayavadis, even leaders of Mayavad, the Mayavad school, to Vaishnavism. And one time he appeared in Madhvacharya's dream, and he told him that you are my eternal servant. I'm very grateful for your service, and I'm so appreciative of your contribution to Vaishnavism that I'm going to take initiation into your sampradaya. So Lord Caitanya, he was initiated in the Brahma Madhva sampradaya, but then he changed the teachings, right? Because Lord Caitanya is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He's Krishna himself. So he's not just an acharya or a great personality. He's the Lord. So the Lord can do anything he wants, and it was the Lord's mission. Lord Caitanya appeared in this world to establish the worship of Radha and Krishna, because after the Lord had wound up his pastimes on this planet, he concluded his manifest Vraj Leela, then time passed, and that understanding was lost. Right? People, they just, the conception of God with awe and reverence became prominent, and the sweetness of Vraj Leela, the preeminence of the Madhurya Rasa was lost. So Lord Caitanya came with the express purpose to make make Krishna's Vrindavan pastimes very prominent, as this is the highest expression of devotion, is to serve God in the way that the inhabitants of Vrindavan served him. And Lord Caitanya came with the mood of Radharani to experience the love of Radharani, and also to give access to that flavor of love to the conditioned souls of this world. So Lord Caitanya, he shifted the emphasis of the sampradaya from worshipping Lord Vishnu with awe and reverence to worshipping Radha and Krishna with sweetness and with love being the highest goal. Not just liberation, but pure love for Krishna being the highest goal. And the process for that being not following Varnashram Dharma, but hearing and chanting about Krishna, remembering Krishna, the 9 processes of devotional service as enunciated by Prahlad Maharaj in the Bhagavatam. So he's preaching quite heavily here to the chief of the Tattvavadis on all these points. And then he comes to the point of, the last thing that he said, Lord Chaitanya quotes the conclusion of Bhagavad Gita, Sarva Dharman Parityajya Mamekam Sharanam Braja Aham Tvam Sarva Papebhyo Moksha Ishyami Ma Shuchaha. That the conclusion is just surrender to Krishna and love Krishna and serve Krishna and don't worry about anything else. You don't have to worry about anything else. So that brings us up to text 266. So that was a long introduction, but it'll help us get a better understanding of this section. So let's recite the Sanskrit here. Tavat karmani kurvita na nirvidyeta yavata matkata shravanado va shraddha yavan najayate. Tavat karmani kurvita na nirvedyeta yavata matkata shravanado va shraddha yavan najayate. Please chant. Tavat karmani kurvita na nirvidyeta yavata shraddha yavan najayate. Tavat karmani kurvita na nirvidyeta yavata madkata shravanado va shraddha yavan najayate. Okay, let's do the word for word. We can do this all together. Tavat, up to that time. Karmani, fruitive activities. Kurvita, one should execute. Na nirvidyeta, is not satisfied. Yavata, as long as. Matkata, of discourses about me. Shravana ado, in the matter of Shravanam, Kirtanam, and so on. Va, or. Shraddha, faith. Yavat, as long as. Na, not. Jayate, is awakened. Translation and a very short purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. As long as one is not satisfied by fruitive activity and has not awakened his taste for devotional service by Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, one has to act according to the regulative principles of the Vedic injunctions. Purport, this is a quotation from Srimad Bhagavatam 11:29. So Lord Chaitanya is explaining that there are different levels of worshipping the Lord and spiritual practice. And so the Tattvavadis had this idea that following Varnashram duty and offering that to the Lord is the highest thing. Then Lord Chaitanya comes and says, no, actually there's something higher, and that is hearing about the Lord, chanting the holy names and glories of the Lord, and doing devotional service with a view to developing ecstatic love for the Lord. That's the highest goal. And then he quotes this saying, but if you're not on that level, if you haven't awakened your taste for bhakti, for Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, hearing and chanting the glories of the Lord, then you have to act according to the regulative principles of Vedic injunctions. Then go ahead and stick to Varnashram and do that. So in devotional service, there are different levels, right? In the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 12, Krishna says that just meditate on me with undeviated attention, totally absorbed in me, and that's the perfection of life. And then he says, but if you can't do that, then follow the regulative principles in order to develop a desire to attain that stage. And if you can't even follow the regulative principles, then at least just work for me. Do your occupational duty, your varnashram duty, and offer the result of that work for me. And if you can't even do that, then just give some charity to some good cause, so that you're not just working selfishly for sense gratification. And if you can't even do that, then just try to cultivate knowledge so that you can come to some level of understanding by which you understand that, material enjoyment is not the all in all, and you should at least, start giving and, following some regulative principles and worshiping the Lord gradually. So Krishna is very kind, and he understands that we're all on different levels here. We're all, we've lived many lifetimes in this material world, and we've done varying degrees of religious or pious activities in those lifetimes and in this lifetime. And so we're all at different stages. And so he basically offers something for everyone, right? Wherever we are, we can plug in to the Vedic system. But at the same time, we shouldn't forget the goal, the highest goal. And so Lord Chaitanya is reminding these Tattvavadis, like, okay, you're doing a good thing, and this is ideal for people on a certain level who have no taste for hearing and chanting, but we must not forget that the highest goal is love of God, and that is attainable only by Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Pada Sevanam, Archanam, Dasyam, Vandanam, Sakyam, Atma Nivedanam, the 9 processes of devotional service. And that the goal is love. The goal is beyond liberation, because real devotional service actually begins after liberation, right? Because liberation just means that we're free from material bondage, we're free from material attachments and desires, we're free from material suffering. But it's like, okay, we're free from all the bad things. That kind of like brings us up to, if you think about it as, like Prabhupada sometimes uses this example of someone having a fever. So you have a fever, a very high fever, you can't do anything. You're just like, you're sick, you're tired, your body is hurting, you got this terrible fever, you're in bed, and you're like, just trying to drink water to, put cold washcloths on your head or something to bring down the fever, taking medicine. So you can't do anything while you're that sick with a high fever. But then gradually as the fever comes down and you restore your healthy condition, then it's like, okay, great, now the fever's down, now I'm at a normal, healthy state of health and body temperature. Now I'm feeling better. Now I can do my things, right? Now I can live my life. I can get out of bed and I can go to work and be with the family and go out and do things in the world. So liberation is like bringing down the fever. It's like coming to a healthy condition. But then the question is, okay, now what do we do in this healthy condition where I realize that I'm a spirit soul, I realize that I'm an eternal spiritual being, I realize that I have an eternal connection with the Lord. Now what? Now what do I do with that? I realize I have nothing to do with this material world, so I don't want to engage in material activities that just generate karma and suffering. So what do I do? So the answer is devotional service. Now we can start to really serve the Lord. Of course, we can also serve the Lord before we're liberated, which is what most of us are doing now. We still have material desires, but we're trying to serve the Lord. We're chanting our japa, we're coming to temple, we're hearing from scripture. So doing different services. So that's helping the fever come down, right? That's what we're doing now, is we're doing these things to sort of expedite, because bhakti yoga is the expedited process. The gradual way, the slow way, is varnashram dharma and following these Vedic injunctions and doing these things. It's like taking the stairs. Prabhupada said it's like taking the stairs up to the top floor of a high building. It's hard work and it takes some time. And there's also risk that you could fall down the stairs, right? So it's not so safe. But bhakti is like taking the elevator. You get in there, the door closes, perfectly safe, there's no possibility of falling, and you go straight to the top floor effortlessly and very quickly. So bhakti, we can start bhakti at any stage. That's the glory of bhakti. There's no prerequisite. So we can start these 9 processes of devotional service, and we can very quickly come to the stage of liberation. And then because we came to the stage of liberation through devotional service, we already know what to do. We just continue doing what we're doing, but now we're doing it in a pure state. We're doing it without material motivations, without any attachments, without any lust, greed, anger, envy affecting our devotee relationships or our attitude towards Krishna. We can do it purely. So that's when our devotional service really comes to the next level, like really takes off, when we really get a taste, because we're getting so much reciprocation from Krishna, and our actual love awakens, because we no longer invest our love in material things. So this is what Lord Chaitanya is trying to establish, that this is the highest thing. All right, so let's read a little bit more here. Text 267. Panchavidha mukti tyaga kare bhakta gana palgu kari mukti deke narakera sama. Pure devotees reject the 5 kinds of liberation. Indeed, for them, liberation is very insignificant because they see it as hellish. So here we're talking about liberation in which there's no service to the Lord. Because some impersonalists have this conception of liberation where we just get free from material existence and we just merge into Brahman. We just become like a little glowing particle of light in the effulgent Brahmajyoti, the effulgence of the Lord's body. And then there's no scope for service because we basically lose our personality, we lose our individuality, and we just become a little spiritual spark. So pure devotees see that as hellish, because for pure devotees, they just want to serve the Lord. And if you don't have a spiritual form and a spiritual body and a spiritual personality, what can you do? You're kind of extremely disabled. So now he says that so Lord Chaitanya stated that, and now he's going to quote a verse from Bhagavatam to back up his statement, which he often does. Salokya sarsti samipya sarupya ikatvam apyuta diyamanam nagrinanti vinamatsevanam janaha. Pure devotees always reject the 5 kinds of liberation, which include living in the spiritual Vaikuntha planets, possessing the same opulences as those possessed by the Supreme Lord, having the same bodily features as the Lord's, associating with the Lord, and merging into the body of the Lord. The pure devotees do not accept these benedictions without the service of the Lord. So it's not saying that we don't want to go back to Godhead, we don't want to associate with the Lord. We want those things, but we want them only if we want them because we want to serve the Lord, right? Because I want to serve the Lord, I want to go to the spiritual world. Because I want to serve the Lord, I want to associate with the Lord. But if the Lord wants me to serve him in another way, devoid of his association, or here in the material world, then that's okay too, because I really just want to serve the Lord. I'm not after liberation, I'm after love. And I know that love comes from service, and so whatever service the Lord wants me to do, because I love him, I'll just do that, even if I have to take birth again in this material world. So that's the point here. Okay, let's go to text 269. This is a long one. Yodushtya jankshiti sutta swajanartha dharan pratyam shriyam suravarai sadayavalokam naichan ripastaruchitam mahatam madudvit sevanurakta manasam abhavopi falgu. Translation. It is very difficult to give up material opulence, land, children, society, friends, riches, wife, or the blessings of the goddess of fortune, which are desired even by great demigods. But King Bharat did not desire such things, and this was quite befitting his position. Because for a pure devotee whose mind is always engaged in the service of the Lord, even liberation or merging into the existence of the Lord is insignificant, and what to speak of material opportunities. So here he's giving an example. So first he states it, then he gives a quote from Shastra to confirm it, from the highest evidence, the Srimad Bhagavatam, and now he gives an example of a devotee who actually did that and achieved the perfection. So Prabhupada says this verse is from Bhagavatam 5:14-42 concerning the glorification of King Bharat, whom Shukadev was describing to King Parikshit. Okay, now he's going to say, now he's going to give another quotation from Srimad Bhagavatam. Narayana parasarve nakutaschana bibhyati swargapavarga narake shvapi tulyarta darshinaha. Translation: a person who is a devotee of Lord Narayan is not afraid of a hellish condition, because he considers it the same as elevation to the heavenly planets or liberation. The devotees of Lord Narayan are accustomed to seeing all these things on the same level. So here he's saying that for a pure devotee, not only do they not care about liberation, but they see liberation or going to the heavenly planets or even going to hell as all the same. It's no difference because basically they don't care where they are. They just want to serve the Lord in loving devotional service. So if the Lord wants to serve them in the heavenly planets, they go to the heavenly planets. If the Lord wants them to be liberated and go back to Godhead and serve Him there, they'll go there. If the Lord wants them even to go to hell and serve there, then they'll go there. It's all the same. Because the thing is that in any situation, the devotee is going to be transcendental to the external environment. He won't be affected, right? We were seeing how Prahlad Maharaj, he was in such a hellish situation, living with that demoniac Hiranyakashipu, his father, who was trying to kill him in so many ways. And Prahlad was completely transcendental. He wasn't even disturbed. He was just, absorbed in his loving thoughts and having loving exchanges with the Lord within his heart and mind. And everything that happened was just increasing his faith, increasing his love, increasing his gratitude to the Lord. So no impediment. For a pure devotee, there's no bad situation because everything is Krishna's mercy. Okay, let's go to the next verse here. Mukti karma dui vastu tyaje bhaktagana se dui stapatumi sadhya sadhana. Both liberation and fruitive activity are rejected by devotees. You are trying to establish these things as life's goal and the process for attaining it. So here Lord Chaitanya is being a little stern. So he's saying that you're saying that liberation and fruitive activity are the goal, but pure devotees, what they speak of considering them the goal, they reject these things. These are not even the process. These are not even items of interest. So he's preaching very heavily here. Okay, now we go on to text 272. Sannyasi deki amore karaha vanchana nakahila tenhi sadhya sadhana lakshana. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu continued speaking to the Tattvavadi Acharya. Seeing that I am a mendicant in the renounced order of life, you have been playing with me in a duplicitous way. You have not actually described the process and ultimate objective. So Lord Chaitanya is kind of like teasing him here that like, what's wrong with you? Why are you just playing with me by telling me something that's not the highest goal when I asked you what is the highest goal? So text 273. Shuni tattvacharya haila antare lajita prabhura vaishnavata deki haila vismita. After hearing Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Acharya of the Tattva Vada Sampradaya became very much ashamed. Upon observing Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's rigid faith in Vaishnavism, he was struck with wonder. So, this Tattva Vada Acharya, he was very sincere, and he was listening very carefully to Lord Chaitanya, and he was taking it, he was accepting it. He was accepting the good instruction, and he was having some realizations about this. So now he's going to speak. Text 274. Acharya kahe tumi ye, Acharya kahe tumi ye kahase satyahaya sarva shastri vaishnavera e sunishchaya. The Tattvavadi Acharya replied, what you have said is certainly factual. It is the conclusion of all the revealed scriptures of the Vaishnavas. So here he's agreeing. And this is a sign of someone who's very actually Brahminical, right? So a Brahmin, there's different kinds of discussions or debates that we might have. And one kind is called Jalpa. So Jalpa discussion is where two people hold different philosophical points of view, and they're not really interested in finding out what the actual truth is, but they're just trying to win. basically just trying to prove that they are right. They want to win, even if they're wrong. It's more like coming from false ego, like I have to be right, I have to win, even if I'm wrong, I don't care. My reputation is at stake here, and I need to, win. And then the second one is called vitanda. Vitanda means usually there's like a senior person speaking to a junior person, and the senior person is just out to basically smash the junior person, and they also may be wrong, but they're just like out to like prove. It's similar, but it's more, it focuses on less on them being philosophically right and more on them establishing their superiority over the other person. Like, who are you to say anything to me, even if you are right? And then the third kind, which is the good one, which is the one that we should all practice, is vada. So vada means you have a certain view, you have a philosophical predisposition, but you're not attached to it, because what you're really attached to is the truth. And you're a seeker, you're a true seeker a pure seeker of truth. And so if someone comes along and they explain things to you that's based on scripture, that makes sense, that, with examples and all this, like Lord Chaitanya's just given, and makes you understand that, wow, this person has just given me a higher understanding. He's just elevated my level of realization and brought me closer to the truth. Then even though they're defeated, they're happy. They're like, because they're sincere, they want to know the truth, and someone has just given them a higher truth. They're like, wow, this is fantastic. Thank you so much. You've helped me come to a higher level of understanding. And so naturally there's some humility there. So the Tattva Acharya, he's feeling humbled. It says he's feeling ashamed. So he's feeling, he's feeling humbled but happy. I myself, I've been in situations many times, especially in the beginning of my Krishna consciousness, where I had some misunderstandings, and then I was corrected by a senior devotee or my spiritual master, and it's like, you feel like, I'm such an idiot, I'm so foolish, but at the same time, so happy to be corrected and to know what the right point of view is, what the right understanding is. So it's actually, in Krishna consciousness, it's blissful to be corrected. And if a devotee does correct our understanding, then we should consider it their mercy. Because from the point of view of the senior devotee, senior devotees who are actually senior are humble, and they don't want to confront anyone. They don't want to, make anyone feel bad. So it's difficult for the senior devotee to be like, to correct someone, because they're not, someone who has a lot of false ego, they take pleasure in correcting people because it makes them feel like I'm better. But an actually advanced devotee, it's difficult. You don't want to, it's uncomfortable. Right? You don't want to like offend anyone or something. So if somebody does come and with a nice, sweet mood, corrects us philosophically, or we're doing something wrong, they correct us, then we should be grateful. So that's the Tattvavadi Acharya is actually, he's humbled and he's grateful. And he recognizes that this, what you're saying is true. This actually is the conclusion of the revealed scriptures. So now, but now he's going to say the next line here. Tatapi madvacharye kariyache nirbandha seyacharya sabe sampradaya sambandha. Still, whatever Madhvacharya has established as the formula for our party, we practice as a party policy. So he's saying, you've spoken the truth. I understand that this is higher, but still, what can I do? I'm a follower of Madhvacharya, and I have to be, out of loyalty to him, I have to stick with what he's given, with what he's taught us. So let's see how Lord Chaitanya responds to this. Prabhu kahe karmi jnani dui bhakti hina tomara sampradaye dekhi se dui china. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, both the fruitive worker and the speculative philosopher are considered non-devotees. We see both elements present in your sampradaya. So now he's really, Lord Chaitanya is really like going for it. He said that there are these non-devotional aspects that are deeply rooted in your sampradaya itself. Text 277, Lord Chaitanya is going to continue. Sabe eka guna deki tomara sampradaya satya vigraha kari ishvare karaha nishtaya. The only qualification that I see in your sampradaya is that you accept the form of the Lord as truth. This is a little heavy, right? Saying the only. So let's read this purport here. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted to point out to the Tattvavadi Acharya, who belonged to the Madhvacharya Sampradaya, that the general behavior of the Tattvavadis did not favor pure devotional service, which must be devoid of the taints of fruitive activity and speculative knowledge. As far as fruitive activity is concerned, the contamination is the desire for elevation to a higher standard of life, and for speculative knowledge, the contamination is a desire to merge into the existence of the absolute truth. The Tattvavad Sampradaya of the Madhvacharya school sticks to the principle of Varnashram Dharma, which involves fruitive activity. The ultimate goal, mukti, is simply a form of material desire. A pure devotee should be free from all kinds of material desire. He simply engages in the service of the Lord. Nonetheless, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was pleased that the Madhvacharya Sampradaya, or the Tattvavad Sampradaya, accepted the transcendental form of the Lord. This is a great qualification of the Vaishnava Sampradayas. It is the Mayavad Sampradaya that does not accept the transcendental form of the Lord. If a Vaishnava Sampradaya is also carried away by that impersonal attitude, that Sampradaya has no position at all. It is a fact that there are many so-called Vaishnavas whose ultimate aim is to merge into the existence of the Lord. For example, the Sahajiya's Vaishnava philosophy is to become one with the Supreme. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu points out that Sri Madhavendra Puri accepted Madhvacharya only because his Sampradaya accepted the transcendental form of the Lord. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So, yeah, we see here that this Tattvavadi, even though he saw that Lord Chaitanya was right, still he stuck to the lower principles because out of loyalty to his Sampradaya. So Lord Chaitanya points out that this is a fault. And so despite the fact that Lord Chaitanya was grateful for the contribution of Madhvacharya, and so grateful that he took initiation in the Madhva Sampradaya, he established his teachings. So he superimposed his own teachings into the Madhva Sampradaya in a way that changed the direction of the Madhva Sampradaya forever. So, of course, you can understand now that he created a split. So the Madhva Sampradaya comes through Madhva, and then those who stuck to the teachings of Madhvacharya, they went their own direction. So their parampara comes down, goes to Madhvacharya, and goes their way. Ours comes down through Madhvacharya and goes through Lord Chaitanya and goes another way. So, sometimes we say that we're followers of the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya, but actually it's more correct to say that we are just Gaudiyas. We're just Gaudiya Vaishnavas, because Gaudiya Vaishnavas, because Lord Chaitanya is Krishna himself. So what he actually did was that he took initiation in the Madhva Sampradaya, but he significantly changed that Sampradaya to basically something totally different from what Madhvacharya taught. Right? He didn't just pass down the teachings. The idea of parampara is that the guru passes teachings to disciple understands, hears, understands, assimilates, and teaches those to his disciples like that. So the knowledge is passed down intact without any change. Acharyas may change the details, but they can't change the principles. But Lord Chaitanya was more than an acharya. He was the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he was on a mission to establish something very different from what had previously been given. And that's a glory of Lord Chaitanya. There's a verse that says that Lord Chaitanya appeared on the horizon of Gaudadesh, like the moon rising or like the sun rising, to give what has never been given before. It's never been given before. And that is the worship of Radha and Krishna in the Ujjvala rasa, in the most brilliant, the highest, the sweetest rasa, which is Madhurya rasa, worshipping Krishna with the mood of Srimati Radharani, or the mood of the gopis. So that was never given. In fact, Madhvacharya doesn't worship Radha Krishna, he doesn't even accept Srimati Radharani. So very, very different. Lord Chaitanya came for the purpose of giving Radha's love for Krishna, for experiencing it, for teaching it, for demonstrating it, for encouraging it, right? So, so actually we are Gaudiya Vaishnavas, and that's it. We are followers of Lord Chaitanya and the 6 Goswamis, headed by Rupa Goswami. Prabhupada said we are Rupanugas. And one of the main teachings of Rupa Goswami, there in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, is basically the Paribhasa Sutra of the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu is being referred to in this purport, which is Anya Bilashita Shunyam Jnana Karma Dinavritam Anukulayena Krishnanu Shilanam Bhaktir Uttama. So this is Rupa Goswami's definition of pure devotional service, is that so Bhakti Uttama, the highest, Uttama means the best, the highest, first-class devotional service is Anya Bilashita Shunyam, zero desire for anything else except to please Krishna. And then that devotional service must not be covered, so jnana karma dhyanavritam. It can't be covered by jnana or impersonal speculation, which Prabhupada talks about here. It says pure devotional service must be devoid of the taints of fruitive activity and speculative knowledge, because these are contaminated. And not just they're contaminated, but he said that these are material desires. It's not devotional service. It's just material desires. So, fruitive activity, karma, that's karma. The contamination is that you don't desire service to Krishna. You desire elevation in your material standard of life. You want to go to the heavenly planets or just live a happy material life. Get, prosperity in this world, enjoyment. And then speculative knowledge, jnana, the contamination of that is the desire to merge into the absolute truth, the desire for liberation. And he says liberation is also a material desire. So karma is fraught with material desires because it's all about doing things, doing material activity to get material things, to get material prosperity. And then even jnana, or the desire for liberation, is fraught with material desire because the desire is to get free from material suffering. So whether you're trying to get material happiness or you're trying to get free from material suffering, it's basically the same thing. It's all just material, because the focus is on material. So pure devotional service cannot be covered by any of these material taints, whether by karma or by jnana. This flavor of jnana, which is leading towards a monistic understanding, or towards merging with the Lord to get free from suffering. And so Lord Chaitanya is saying, but this is what your sampradaya is all about. It's all about just doing karma according to Varnashram in order to achieve liberation, right? But he's saying that these are both material, and that's why he says in the previous verse that, karmi jnani dui bhakti hina. He's saying that this karma, focus on karma and jnana, this is what the non-devotees focus on. So I see that in your sampradaya, there are both of these characteristics of non-devotees. This is not even a devotional sampradaya. So he's being very heavy. He's like rejecting the whole thing. Your whole sampradaya is, you guys aren't even devotees. You claim to be Vaishnavas, worshiping the Lord, but you just want, to do fruitive activities and get liberation. And devotional service, real devotional service to the Lord, rejects both of those. So, so Lord Chaitanya and the 6 Goswamis and their followers established this. And so we need to be aware of this and how, sometimes because we are Vaishnavas, we are Gaudiya Vaishnavas, and we do have things in common with other Vaishnava groups, but there are also significant differences. So we need to remain loyal to our sampradaya, which is the Gaudiya sampradaya, and really focus on Lord Chaitanya, because literally in this age of Kali Yuga, Lord Chaitanya is he's the Yuga avatar. He's the worshipable deity for us. And I mean, so you might wonder, well, why is it that we have Radha and Krishna here if Lord Chaitanya is the deity to be worshipped in Kali Yuga? Well, we have Lord Chaitanya also, but we worship Radha and Krishna because Lord Chaitanya the way to worship Lord Chaitanya is to worship Radha Krishna, because that's what Lord Chaitanya told us to do. So he is Krishna himself, but he instructed us, worship me by worshiping Radha and Krishna. We can also worship Radha and Krishna by worshiping Lord Chaitanya, because he's Radha and Krishna combined, right? He's Krishna in the mood of Radha. Mahaprabhu, Sri Chaitanya, Radha Krishna, nahi anya. That there's no difference. He's none other than Radha and Krishna together. So this relationship between Radha and Krishna and Lord Chaitanya is very intimate, because he said worship Radha and Krishna, but he's also Radha and Krishna combined himself. So whether we worship Radha and Krishna on his order, or whether we worship Radha and Krishna by worshiping him, or the best thing is to worship Radha and Krishna through him, right? By worshiping Gaur Nitai, we gain the access to Radha and Krishna. Otherwise, what access do we have to Radha and Krishna, Madhurya Rasa, following the footsteps of the Brajavasis? We're conditioned souls here, suffering the pains of material miseries in Kali Yuga, with all of our conditions and material desires and things. What access do we have to Radha and Krishna? Only by the mercy of Shri Shri Gaur Nitai, because they're so merciful, because they're Patita Pavana, because they literally came to give the highest thing to the lowest people. And so, we fall into the Patita category. Well, Lord Chaitanya Patita means fallen, so we fall in this material world. But he's Patita Pavana, the purifier of the fallen. So if we take shelter of Lord Chaitanya, worship Shri Shri Gaur Nitai, we can very quickly become purified, and we can gain that qualification to actually approach Radha and Krishna, which is what Lord Chaitanya wants us to do. So he's going to do everything that he can to help us to facilitate that and bring us to the highest perfectional stage of pure love for Radha and Krishna. Okay, so I'll stop there and open it up for any questions or comments. Yes, Tulsi Saki?
Hare Krishna Prabhupada, Priya Prabhu. Thank you. I think this class kind of encompasses our entire philosophy. And I think I'm going to, put a marker on this class, come back to it. I have questions because it's, so a few things that you were just discussing and then revising also is that, pure devotional service, the 9 processes of pure devotional service being higher.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why Mahaprabhu is saying, in Madhava Sampradaya, it's higher. But for those of us like me, when I'm not practicing, during the course of the day, some hours, okay, we are attempting to do the 9 processes. And then the other times, we are doing what I would call fruitive work.
Mm.
And Mahaprabhu rejected the Madhava philosophy because you're full of, the fruitive workers. And so we're rejecting. But we see there's not just me, there's many of us who are doing hours of fruitive work.
Mm-hmm.
And is that the reason why there's a loss in potency? Because there's so many of us now.
Mm.
And if you go back to Prabhupada's days, Dayananda Prabhu, whose pictures on the chariot, he worked. But he gave everything.
They gave up everything.
Everything. Like he was driving the taxi, but he didn't keep anything for himself.
Mm.
He gave everything to the movement. So there's a difference.
Yeah.
So are we now becoming the same?
No. So one difference is that, you gave the example of Jayananda driving his taxi. So, he was a brahmachari living in the temple. So that was just his service, right? Brahmachari living in the temple, they do whatever service is needed. And he was doing his service, and what he was asked to do was earn money. So he got a job. Even Tamal Krishna Maharaj and Vishnu, they were like working at Kodak, right? Because they needed money to pay the bills. So they just went out and got any old job, and they earned money. They gave that to temple authorities, Prabhupada, and they used that to pay the rent and buy the bhoga for the devotees and deities and stuff. So it wasn't fruitive work because it was just what they were doing. They were just doing the needful for the service of Krishna and the devotees. So it's different. One thing they didn't, so they could give all their earnings to the temple because they were living in the temple. Temple was maintaining them. They didn't have a family, right? So your situation is different. You don't live in the temple. Temple's not maintaining you. You do have a family. So you need to have, at least part of your income, a good chunk of your income, for maintaining your family. So that's reasonable. That's what you have to do. That's your service. And then as far as spending a lot of your time doing fruitive activity, right, doing your job, it's different from, what we're talking about here with the Tattvavadis, because the Tattvavadis, they see that as the goal. The goal is to perfect your fruitive activities and, connect that to Krishna and achieve liberation. So you're doing your job because that's your dharma as a grihasta with, children and financial needs. But you're not seeing that as the goal. I'm pretty sure you're not seeing that that's the goal of my life, to do my work and earn my money and somehow connect what I'm doing to Krishna, right? Your goal is what? Your devotional service, right? And of developing ecstatic love for Sri Sri Radha Kalachandji, for worshiping Radha and Krishna, and becoming an eternal servant of Krishna in Vrindavan, right? So that's your goal. So that we can define how do you say this? We can define, who a person is by their goal, right? By the goal and the process that they're taking to achieve the goal. So if the goal is ecstatic love, pure devotional service for Sri Sri Radha Krishna, especially in Vrindavan, like that, in the Vrindavan mood, then you're a Gaudiya Vaishnava. You're not a Tattvavadi, right? Even if you're doing, and then you're taking the steps, you're doing Shravanam, you're doing Kirtanam, you're following the process that our Acharya, Srila Prabhupada, has given, and at the same time you're fulfilling your duties responsibly as a grihasta, which is great. So, that's what a good Gaudiya Vaishnava does. You'll have some doubts? No? Okay, good.
Thank you for clarifying. Just going back to where we're saying so it's basically, if I can repeat what I understood, the difference is the goal. Because if we look at our practices, it feels like Varnashram, even Prabhupada said towards the end of it, it's like if you, there was one more point also. The risk of falling, you mentioned, if it's Bhakti Yoga, you don't have the risk of falling, if you could clarify that. But it feels like for us too, for Purusharthas are kind of, the base on which pure devotional service practices are there. If we're going back to, at least the society should be having some kind of a structure for us to function and perform devotional service. But what the difference is the goal, that even if we are utilizing aspects of our Varnashram Dharma, the difference is the goal.
So then, risk of falling down the stairs. Because, Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, you're getting, so you're working, you're getting material facility, and if you're not very, if your emphasis is not on devotional service and love for Krishna through devotional service, then when you get that Artha, and also one of the goals there is Kama, then you can very easily just get caught in the trap of using your Artha for Kama, right? Using your wealth for sense gratification, and then you can get pulled into sense gratification. You can lose the focus on moksha, if that's what your path is, right? And then even if you do get to moksha, if you're the kind of moksha that you are aspiring for and attain is like merging into Brahman, then you're going to fall down from that even, right? So at any stage you can fall down. At Artha, that can drag you away. We see how so many people who are wealthy in Bhagavatam, there's the sons of Kuvera, Manigriva and Nalakuvara, they're very wealthy. Their father is Kuvera, the demigod in charge of wealth. So they have unlimited wealth at their disposal practically. And what do? They just get so into sense gratification. They're just like, getting intoxicated and, getting just pulled away by wine and women, and by the mercy of Narada Muni, they get cursed, to be trees in the courtyard of Nanda Maharaj and liberated by Krishna, and they get purified that way. But, their artha just led them into, just degraded them. And then kama, if your focus on liberation, your focus on the Lord becomes slackened because your focus shifts over to sense gratification, then you're not going to get purified by your sense gratification, or it's going to take lifetimes, right? So you can fall down just into gross sense gratification instead of being elevated through, purifying it through the pravritti path. So at every stage, from dharma, artha, any stage of dharma, artha, kama, moksha, it's risky. There's risk of fall. You're kind of playing with fire, basically. That's what it is. You're playing with fire, and there's a big chance that you're going to get burnt. Whereas bhakti, you're just going from beginning to end, it's devotional service. So starting point is devotional service. Middle point is devotional service. Goal is devotional service. And because in devotional service, the focus is Krishna, So then we're always just taking shelter of Krishna. We're chanting Krishna's names, hearing about Krishna, remembering Krishna, worshiping the deity of Krishna, offering food to Krishna. Like everything that we do, the focus is on Krishna. And because we're constantly taking shelter of Krishna, then Krishna is very present, and he helps and he protects us. Whereas in the other processes, the focus is not so much on the Lord. The focus is more on, I need to do my religious duty. I need to fulfill my functions according to Varna and Ashram. I need to, generate wealth. I need to enjoy my senses, work through my material desires. So where is Krishna in the picture? He's kind of like there, but he's not the focus, because the process of bhakti necessitates Krishna, right? If your process is Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, that's different from, okay, my process is that I need to do my job and, fulfill my Varna ashram requirements, right? Krishna's not necessarily there. You need to add him. So, but where it's like I can't think of an analogy, but it's like you're just immersed in something else and you're trying to add Krishna as an afterthought. Oh yeah, this is for Krishna. I can't forget that, right? But bhakti is just Krishna through and through. It's just permeated with Krishna. So Krishna is very present, and his mercy is very present, and he helps us. Even at an immature, even when we have material desires, he's still there because we're chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna is present. The deity of Krishna is there, Krishna is present. So we have bhakti is just so powerful. It's the fast thing. Because as soon as we touch Krishna, everything becomes pure. Everything becomes spiritual. Everything becomes blissful. We get a taste. We want to do more. It's just so powerful. Nothing else? Okay, so we will wrap it up. Thank you very much. Sri Caitanya Charitamrta ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaura Premanandi Hari Hari Bo.